Start with the hands behind and moving the head, trying to loosen the neck, shoulders, collarbones, and sacrum. Hands round to the front. And rubbing the hands. The knees. Activating the belly lower back machine. As I contract one side, it stretches the other, which causes that side to start to contract. Now the breathing. Same action, belly, lower back. Feel the air really thick and viscous. You're barely able to move through it. And turning with it. And reaching. And up and down. And then just a few reaching to the side, looking right behind myself. Back to prayer. Let's rub the hands again and we'll do the eyes. Prepare the eyes by closing them and feeling as though you're seeing from the back of your skull. Like your eyes are sinking into your head. And then the hands over the eyes. Allow the head to sway a little bit. Then the hands up and out. Snaking. Peripheral vision. Want the hands to be far enough around that you can't really see them, you sort of sense them. Then the hands up. And down. Remember that wonderful phrase of John's, becoming's bleeding edge. That's where the mind is. That's mind continuous, being at the moment as it bleeds into the next. Melting. The solid becoming liquid. Soft like ice about to melt. Remember the Tao Te Ching? Or the amoeba breaking out of its shell, pouring. And the energy that's required to enter that next moment correctly is what we call spirit. And spirit is like the latent heat of melting. John used to say that the highest intelligence was foresight, being able to see the future, being able to somehow sense what's going to happen before it happens. Very important for a martial artist. So for that, you need the spirit, because the spirit contains the future, if you like. Contains almost like an image of what's next. And that, for someone like Alain Badiou, those French philosophers, truth is not the state of affairs. It's not how things are, the facts of the situation. It's the premonition of things to come. It's a hope. Being with the moment as it's seeping into the next. Okay, so let's try the butterfly. Okay, let's stand up. Start off with this one, just to sort of loosen the legs. So alternating the action between the two sides. And we know that when that happens, it makes a turn. Try and make sure you're turning towards the foot that has the heel coming up. The feast is forwards. We're always reaching forwards into the future. Mindfully. And we're always turning, so we never really know where we're going. It's not our eyes that open up the future, but the spirit, the turning, leaving the past behind and venturing forth. And just let it slip into the loping jog. Shouldn't feel that dissimilar. Slowly. We go slow so that we can see what's happening. Be mindful of all the little micro stages, especially the lag between spirit, mind, energy, and body. Spirit is the first thing to move or activate, and body is the last thing to move. Spirit is in my knees as much as anywhere. My knees are wanting to come off the ground, come up all the time. I have to make sure my sacrum is sinking down behind them so it doesn't knock me off balance. Very much like your knees are in front of you. Or in front of your body. Knees forwards and away, or we think forwards and up and out. There's a wonderful book by Mabel Todd called The Thinking Body. She was the one with the phrase knees forwards and away. So when a dancer moves, they think the knee going forwards rather than the foot or the head. Generally what happens with people. Shoulder width, or maybe a little bit wider. And they're the same exercises we started with. And again, feeling it turning me. Really getting the turn coming from the action of the feet, rather than me doing this and doing the feet at the same time. It's the foot and the knee that draws me around towards it. I know when the student's getting it right. I just need to watch their knees. Their knees look like they're starting a fraction before the rest of the body. That just means they're doing it right. It's like the heels never really on the ground, not for any length of time anyway. They don't go on the ground long enough to root. Just they sort of kiss the ground and then come back up again. And then, just like the first warm-up exercise, but getting the action coming from the same foot and knee. Riding horse. Okay, so now we've got the heels down, so it's like a real relief. My heels are down, and with the energy that's flowing down the backs of the legs, into the heels, into the ground. So I'm rooting. When my heels are off the ground, I'm much more with that buoyant spirit energy that's coming up and enlivening the heart and the head. We just have to strike the right balance. I'm eminently rooted, but I'm also supremely active. And now let's try that circuit, just gathering gravity. So reaching up, and just imagine that you're gathering these lines of gravity, funneling them down your spine. And then at the sacrum, I just need to relax, to let it slip into the hips. And then you can either take it down to the ground, or you can just bring it straight up again. So it's the top of the tree, really. And slowly start turning with it. So like the breathing exercise we do when we're sitting down, as I turn back to the front, I'm bringing it in and down. As I turn to the side, I'm reaching out and up. And gathering gravity and bringing it back to its source, which is the center of the earth. We conceive gravity as a descending flow of energy. Not as an impersonal force. Feeling is I'm gathering something from the air that naturally belongs to the earth and bringing it back home. And then slipping into riding horse again. Feel it dripping down. You've been caught in a sudden shower and you're drenched. And now let's come off the heels. So bringing the heels up. Just feel the spine. We want to really feel how it changes my posture a little bit. My spine becomes stronger, becomes more arched, thrusting the chest upwards, but also sinking the tail down and back. And then slipping back into the heel. So one down, and then the other. And then I just get, I get sucked. Gravity is sucking my sacrum down. There's still very much a feeling that my spine is behind my knees. My knees are very much in the front, and my feet as well. That's what it feels like. And now let's go down and gather up the ball. Remember, we want to open the legs, separating the knees, rolling the thighs to go down. I'm going down not simply by bending my legs, but by opening the space between my legs. And now just bringing the feet shoulder width again. And now, same idea. I want the feeling that I'm pulling myself down, that my toes are clenching and I'm activating the hamstrings, and that's drawing me down. Don't need to go down very far. The same feeling that something's opening here. The groin is having to open, knees are having to widen. Just feel it. When you let your knees separate, something happens in the heart. The heart opens as well in sympathy. And then same action, but now just going down into the squat. But I want to get down by pulling myself down with the legs. So opening the knees, pulling. And I just keep on going down until I end up in our squat. So to get down, my spirit has intensified. Feel the danchan. This is a great exercise for gaining more awareness of the danchan. the posture squeezes it, so it's easier to feel in a way. And let's just stretch your leg. And then the other leg. Then back into the squat. Feeling the pressure on the danchan. I'm squeezing the danchan. Feeling is your danchan is the center of a set of concentric spheres. So the danchan itself is the central one, the smallest. And then the next one would be cutting into the groin. Would include the lumbar spine. And eventually they just really reach out so that you're inside at one of the spheres now. Because we're really squat together. But then there are bigger ones that would include the whole room. And then keep that feeling in the danchan of it being sort of squashed and compacted. Just lie back and cycle. And then using the hands to pull the knees up towards the shoulders and breathing into the belly, allowing the spine to flatten back down into the floor. and then up into the sumo squat. Again, feel the danchan. And the main function of this sort of work, internal work, is to quieten the mind, tame the ego. The ego is like the voice in the head. There's two ways of doing that. One way is to just concentrate on what you're doing so intently that your mind is completely on the job and it's got no chance to think to itself, to reflect. As soon as you start thinking to yourself, you leave whatever it is you're in and whatever it is that you're doing. But then that's what they call the extroverted approach. And the introverted approach is just to go inside and attain through discipline and focus inner quiet and inner stillness. And that requires us to come into the Danchen. And it's a really frightening place to be because it is just the center of emptiness. There's nothing there. It's like black and dark. It's the last thing we can cope with. And this is why it's so important to get into spirit. You know, that lovely Buddhist phrase, stop activity and return to stillness. And you'll find that stillness is even more active. You know, so it's impossible to come into absolute inactivity. We'd have to die to do it. And so you need to evoke the spirit. You need to somehow be able to wake up the situation. So there's something there, even in the midst of this empty blackness, which is the Danchen. Okay, so let's stand up. Let's just do a few, just moving from leg to leg like we normally do, but really getting the knee to activate it. It's my knee going out that starts it all working. My knee going out pulls my heel off the ground, folds here in the hip so that the knee doesn't pull me up like this. and eventually gets me moving towards the knee. So out. My foot is pulling at the ground and beckoning the strength to come up to support me. I need to make sure I've got the ground coming up before I dare venture into it. So the strength needs to be there before my body dare test that strength. Now, the same thing, but from bow and arrow, but basically the same exercise. I'm pulling the strength from the ground up, and then I can settle onto the leg. I feel the ground coming up the leg to the hip, and then I can rest upon it. It's like your dantian is feeding. It's my dantian sucking that pulls me into the foot. And again, other foot. Let's settle into riding horse a sec. Get feeling the danshan, the central small sphere. We have all these larger ones. There's one here that cuts into these folds and comes over the top of the belly. Then the shoulders down to the knees, head down to the feet, and then these larger ones. And now let's try that exercise again, going backwards and forwards, but now bringing the energy up into the opposite hand. I'm gathering from the ground that strength coming up into the sacrum, and then my mind intensifies and I intend it down into the opposite hand. And then that hand drops down so it can help drag the energy up the other leg as my weight comes into it. And I make my mind fierce to direct the energy down into the hand. So two very different uses of the mind. So I've got this gathering mind that's drawing the energy up, and then I've got this fierce distributing mind that's sending the energy out. It's like yield and attack. I'm yielding the ground up into me, and then my attack is just sending that out of my body. That book that I sent last week, The Psychology of Slow Living, is actually really good. The guy that wrote it, Dr. Elliot Cohen, he's a Mancunian for his sins, teaches at Leeds Beckett. He's saying that basically Freud, the great pessimist, said basically we have a choice between what he called common unhappiness, what nowadays we would call depression, and hysterical misery, which nowadays we'd call psychosis or madness. That's basically the choice. The difference between them is spirit. When you have spirit, you are potentially crazy. This is why, we need to work with it so that we can tame it. Same way we're trying to tame the ego. Too much spirit is basically evil. Satan. So it's all about balance. There's a choice really between ego, common unhappiness. The ego is never satisfied, but at least it knows it has company. Or hysterical misery. Spirit, eminently alone, but fiery and crazy. Bring it back to riding horse for a sec. Feeling this pull, the pull here. Just drawing everything in, including the ground beneath you and the heavens above you. Everything's being drawn into here. It's not really a muscular thing. We work on pulling the muscles here and everything. It's just the mind. The ruthless mind that's just Castaneda called it into the place of no pity. As soon as you have pity, you become dispersed. You lose this center. Compassion is very different from pity. Compassion is the movement out from this center. So this, everything material is being drawn into this center, including those aspects of my mind, the noisy material aspects of my mind, the things that I'm thinking about. It's all drawn here, and then my lovingness, can just emanate out from it. So the centrifugal, centripetal, it's always there, regardless of whether we're returning. This is gathering and anchoring, holding me together so that I can bleed into the world. And now let's just lift the foot. So first of all, we just have to get into the foot properly. So we circle around a bit. really it's just sinking down that outside edge. So I'm flowing down this way, and then there'll just be a natural flow up to balance that. Otherwise, I'll be moving down. That catches my foot and pulls it up. And then I I scoop. My foot is like the ice cream scoop that's gathering the ground. And then it comes up the inside. Also in that book, he calls our smartphones, our electronic devices, weapons of mass distraction, which I thought was quite clever. Yeah, and this could be walking. You just each time you send the foot out, you're sending the foot out to gather the ground up into your belly rather than simply settle on the leg. It's just where you use your mind, different levels of mindfulness. Sink down and I gather up. So here it's like I'm holding my Dan Chen. So we'd normally hold it this way, but it doesn't really matter. So this hand is scooped at the ground with the outside edge of the leg. This exercise, it's so good. So each time we bring the knee up, just trying to get it a little bit higher, just to really accentuate that feeling of the Dan Chen contracting. And you have to keep your mind on it, otherwise you're going to fall. And yet at the same time, I'm trying to relax into it. There's some American theologian. Someone said to me, what one word would you use to describe Jesus? And he just said, relaxed. So we do something and then we let go and relax. Okay, so now let's just try a minute or so in the fetus position. Remember this one from yoga? Kneeling, sitting on the heels. Letting the head down. So you can either have the arms out front, straight, or just hold your feet, your heels, and just relax and allow the spine to lengthen and become this smooth curve. So you are the fetus, but also your mind is where the fetus would be if you were pregnant. And then up. And now let's stand up. Keep the mind in the down chair so that there's this pull there all the time, like in the corner of your mind, you're with your down chair. To feel this, everything's coming in. It's got this feel, like your mind is a bit grim. And then we just want to bring the foot up again, but now lifting the knee to try and get the spine in that same curve that it was when we were down there. I bring the foot up and I pull the knee up and in. Now my foot is with the dantian. Same way it would be if I was in lotus. Both hands and feet are with the dantian when we're sitting cross-legged. Feel the sacrum. Really relaxing the sacrum. I want to feel on my spine just extending down into this tail, which is curving under because of the negative curvature in my lower back. So if I lift my foot properly, or the way we're trying to train ourselves to do it, I lift my knee, the back swells out and the tail sort of cuts under. So the feeling is I lift the knee and my tail has actually gone out like the foot, and then my foot just follows that and then draws me towards it. So when I bring the knee up, I'm not just gathering everything in, I'm trying to get something slipping underneath the leg from the spine. And then I just sink and extend my foot along the line that's already established energetically by the fact of me pulling up my knee. And this is all the way through the form. So when I do the form now, just make sure that I really pull the knee up before I send it out to do a step, just to get this lower back rounding back and this sense of the energy reaching underneath. John was really big into this, especially at the end, just before I left. This is basically what we were working on, me and him. I didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. It's only taken 20 years. Amber once talking to him, and he said to me, when you were a kid, did you live in a house with stairs? And I said, yeah. And he said, did you play jumping down the stairs? Yeah, I said, yeah, with my brother, we'd play a game and we'd jump down 2 steps, then we go jump down 3, 4, 5. And he said, did you find that when you went beyond, when you jumped, it's as though a slide appeared and you slid down the slide without banging your bum on the steps? And I thought, fuck yeah, it's exactly how it felt. I says, yeah. He says, that's energy. So there's something underneath that, oh, you can just slide into position. Again, it's that sense of the spirit creating the future. The spirit is like a man with a machete that's sort of cutting a path through the jungle. So I'm sinking down, this thing comes out and I just extend my foot along it. So I have to make sure that I don't start moving forwards before my foot hits the ground. That requires real discipline, and this really, really hurts the legs, this. So it's always a good sign. Remember that time someone at the back of the class bleated out, when do the legs stop hurting? And John just said, that's when you need to start worrying, because it probably means you found a way to cheat. So the knee coming up gets me underneath. And then I just extend. So as I send my foot out, just have to make sure it doesn't break here. I'm still falling backwards. And then I can draw myself into the foot. Riding horse. This feeling, the figure of 8. You just have whatever you need to do with the mind to keep it all open, to keep becoming's bleeding edge bleeding. Otherwise, it's going to scab over. This is what is wanting to happen. This is the ego. The ego basically wants to institute truth. You know, that quote of Terry Eagleton. for us, truth is more like, what Alan Badiou meant by truth, which is really not the state of affairs, not the facts of the situation, but the spirit of it, the potential, the unthinkable, the unspeakable. So whatever you can say about a situation that has any conventional truth is just boring and trivial. We want to make sure that the next moment is different than this one. And for that, you need to bleed into it with spirit. And then feet up. Yeah, so this is contracting into itself, but also it's got this little alternating figure of 8 going on within it. And that's just stopping everything from setting and becoming solid.